Stupid Zoom locked me out.
Stupid Zoom.
Happy birthday, Caitlin.
Oh, you beat me. Happy birthday, Kaylin.
Thank you.
21 at last.
Finally.
Finally.
God, that was a long time ago.
I got kicked out on IHOP on my 21st birthday.
My friends got me a cement mixer at the bar.
Ew.
It was disgusting.
Well, I can tell that they're real friends.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
We used to do the same thing. It was your birthday. It didn't mean it had to be your 21st. We would find the worst possible drinks possible to get you.
Yeah. It was followed by a Three Kings.
Yeah, Three Kings, Four Wise Men. Ugh. If you guys don't know what those are, consider yourself lucky.
Right. Or go find out.
Yeah. Or the Three Kings in a trail guide.
I haven't heard that one.
It's Jimmy, Jack, and Jim Beam, Jack Daniels, Johnny Walker, and Jose Cuervo.
Oof.
Oh, it's rough. It's not meant to be good. It's meant to mess with people. But
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
anyways, any who's it's what's it's. There's a reason I don't drink, and that's one of them.
Same.
My friends ruined it. Let's hear from you. What are your wins? What are your celebrations? What is something you're proud of?
Well, I have a lot going on this weekend. I have 6 open houses. I have my son's birthday on Saturday. He's turning 5. And then
Woo!
my son starts kindergarten on Monday.
How cool.
Oh, that's exciting.
Dang, girl.
Jess, go look at my story on Instagram. You need a cup of that I just posted.
That's one way of getting people to look at your Instagram.
I was gonna say, don't fall for Jessica. She's trying to
Listen. Just go ahead and hit the like, subscribe button.
Go ahead, like and subscribe. I like it. All right. Other wins, celebrations.
I'm going under contract today on my listing.
Do you know which one?
Yeah.
Okay. I just didn't know if it was an affirmation or not. So
No, it's a legit, my sellers are signing the final
nice.
doc.
I too went under contract on a listing. So yesterday.
Do you know which one?
Yeah, the Glasgow one.
Really? Already?
Yeah,
It was the catchy song.
of course. Duh. I got an agent that just loves to talk on the other side, and I'm like, One of those. Other wins, celebrations. What you got? No?
Oh,
Nothing?
Dan, actually, yeah, I have another one. I get some of my money back today that I put on the line
Heck
with
yeah.
Nicole.
Hit your metrics?
Yes, I did. I sent her video and pictures of it yesterday.
I'm so proud of you.
For those of you that maybe remember, I put that $1,500 on the line to hit some goals. Didn't hit the first round thing and was gracefully given an opportunity to get back some of that money. And I did that. So I get some of that today, but I did lose a good chunk. Rightfully so.
Not gonna do that again.
Absolutely not.
It's all about the
Are you on
stick
the
or
line or
carrot.
not hit the metrics?
Yeah, the stick or the carrot.
Christina, do it again, but let me hold the money this time.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, everybody's lining up to go, hey, if you need someone to hold that cash.
Just make her the similar bet, Jessica. I'm sure she'll let you.
Yeah, no. We're going to do everything through coaching now, where things are a lot more painful.
I did have a win. I forgot all about.
There we are.
Specifically remembered to share.
You
I was
specifically?
cold calling around my listing yesterday, and was getting kind of frustrated. Wasn't really getting some good engagement, and I was like, "All right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do one more call, one more contact, and as soon as I get a contact, I'm jumping off." Dude picked up. We had a great conversation. Lives locally. Needs to sell his house. Wants to buy this house. added to the database, wants to stay in contact. I was like, oh, I'm glad I stuck it out for one more.
That's awesome, dude.
My win is that I found a structural engineer if anyone ever needs one on a quick whim. I found someone who's very respondent. So that was nice. My clients did fall out of contract in case anyone was wondering though. We did. Yeah, they backed out. The sellers did not want to give them the extension in order to get the inspection done. So the structural engineer does have a turnaround time of like four days to a week, depending on how much more you want to pay. But he was going to be able to get it to us early next week, but the sellers didn't want to extend, and my buyers said that it was a deal breaker for them, so we canceled last night.
So they would
Damn, I'm sorry.
well,
Yeah.
they would rather it go back on the market than wait 4 days.
People are weird.
And that was I said the same thing. I said we won't be changing the close of escrow. It would just be those 5 days. And the sellers did not want to do that.
Where's the house at?
It's in Oro Valley off of it's like in one of the new Meritage communities off of La Cholla and Tangerine. Not
Well,
Tangerine. I keep saying that. Naranja.
Naranja.
Yeah.
Why don't they just buy a new build?
This was basically a new build because they want a pool. That's the biggest thing. They want a pool. So we this house was like a 2023, and I really went back and forth with them because I was saying, you know, we've been looking for houses for a year and a half. This house has basically everything that you guys have been looking for, right? And I said, my client told me after that, he said, if this was my dream house, I wouldn't let a wall get in the way of that. And to me, I feel like the deeper reason that they didn't want to go with this house is because the people who installed it got their license revoked, and my clients found out about it, and my client feels like something is going to happen and he just doesn't trust it. And I think that that's the reason. And I think that he's using the wall as the scapegoat in order to get out of it.
Caitlin, you can finance a pool into a brand new one with Pulte, FYI, at the rate, whatever interest rate they're offering, which I think last I checked was what, 4.25 or something?
Through Pulte?
Yeah, they're the only builder in town that'll let you finance a pool as part of the overall financing.
Okay, I'm gonna look into them then. My clients have to be in the Wilson K-8 elementary school district. That's the only other thing. But I think Pulte might have something up there. I'm gonna write it down. Thank you.
I know they're up in Dove Mountain, but I don't know if they're out that far. I can't remember.
But that was another argument that I had brought up to my client, was that I want you guys to really be prepared because the houses in this area are a bit older, so we're going to have much more things come up in the future. And they said, yeah, we understand.
Was
Yeah.
it Missouri Creek Loop?
It was Azure Creek Loop, yeah.
$700,000 deal kicked over a wall. It's a neat pool.
It was 700,000, that listing or that house?
Yeah.
Oh, dude. Oh man, but Dove Mountain's not in that school district, is it?
No.
No. And Dove Mountain's far. For what we were talking, yeah, because I remember they didn't want to be out in Dove Mountain because it was too far.
I can also, like, you can see the picture, like one of the aerial shots. You can see the backyard where they dug down a little bit. Compared to the neighbors, it has a big sloping hill. Plus, that's right where the pool's at, so I can understand the dad's concern now that I see its location.
Yeah.
It's like 3 feet from the pool, so if that wall gave
Mhm.
away,
Yeah.
that pool's going too.
And And that's why I think because the pool inspector called it a budget build, right? And then my client he was telling me, he was like, if this wall goes away, I can't use my pool. He's like, yeah, I can sue them, but the whole reason I'm buying this is to use my pool. I don't want to be pissed off and living in my house. And I told them, I said, I'm not in the business to push you into a house. If you don't want it, I don't want you to move into it, because I don't want you to blame me later on thinking that I wanted you to have this house. I said, the only reason I want this so bad is because I know how badly you don't want to keep living in the house that you're currently in. Right.
Honestly, that's an ugly ass pool.
It was ugly. I will say the house looks so much better in person. Everything looks a lot better in person, but yeah, see, when you put it like that, it does look pretty ugly.
But here's the shot I'm showing you guys. This is a good idea because this is the house in question. So let's see how the wall is. It's this area that's the concern.
Hmm.
You can see it. It's not really dug out over here. It's definitely dug out right here. You can see it, and that's right next to the pool.
Yep.
So
Yeah, and that's what and we were using Google Photos for a lot of it because we were able to go back in time and see. They only have a street aerial view of before the backyard was put in on that second house, but you can see right where they laid the fence for the house that we were under contract was already up, and they only added one more block, so all of that footing is all exposed, all at the bottom. So and that's the thing, I do understand the concerns, which I was frustrated about it last night, and I just feel very frustrated with these clients because I've worked with them for so long. But I mean, at the end of the day, I don't want them to move into something they don't feel safe in. So I guess I get it.
watch them find the next house this weekend. You're going to be back under contract with them, no problem.
That's my goal. That's my goal.
That girl, keep it up.
This is the first house they put or they were under contract with?
Yeah. This is a house we were under contract with, and we fell out of contract last night.
This is 100% a case of location. Because this house in another neighborhood would be $300,000 less.
100%.
All right. On to the next one. Time to captivate and capitalize. Captivate and capitalize. Oh wow. Right. Wicked feedback from Debbie.
For
Get her the mute. All right. I've stalled long enough. I see the man, the myth, the beard. What's
Can we
up,
get a drum roll?
Sam?
What's happening? Well, apparently I missed scheduling Thursday, and I'm here for Finance Friday. No, my wife set up doctor's appointments for the kids on Fridays and told me this morning. So that's why I'm all of 13 minutes late. But guys, I'm here, super excited. What are your financing conundrums you're running into? What have you guys been dealing with?
Yesterday, I stopped the conversation around this so they could bring it up again today. First and foremost, I want to talk about Jim's question. He goes, how do you select the lending partner that you're going to work with when there's so many out there? As a lending partner and one of my lending partners, what would you say are the reasons you and I are in business together?
Oh man. Well, so I think for me, the most important thing, just like, there's I don't know how many millions of real estate agents there are, but for my clients, I want to make sure that it's someone that I trust. It's someone that I know that will take care of my clients and carries their same best interest. And I also want to know, like, on a professional level, they're going to be able to do and say everything that they do and say, right? So similarly to picking a lending partner, if I were on the real estate side and I was trying to choose a lender, there's a lot of different loan officers out there. There's a lot of different lending companies. Everyone has their little nuances, but we're kind of all following a lot of the same rules. It's just dependent on access, right? So you can go wrong by picking someone that is just quoting product, because, you know, if you're just selling product, I think that you're overlooking some of the finer nuances of what makes you really good at this. So I will find a product, I'll figure out a way, but I don't generally show up to, you know, a class like that and teach about a product that I'm super jazzed about, because like, if that's what I'm selling, then like, that's what I'm selling. It's not me, right? I do this because I know I'm going to carry the client's best interest at heart. I'm going to do the right thing, show up when I say, you know, all that good stuff. So I don't know if that answered your question, but I would say, Jim, really, you have to find someone that you trust. And if you can speak confidently on their behalf, then it's probably a good thing. But if you're having to sell them, then it's probably not a good thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think the big underliner there is, are they in agreement with the structure? Are they congruent with the morality and the service level? And are they capable of performing at a high level in different scenarios? There are lenders out there that are amazing at what they do in the small cookie cut that they have, the small pie that they have. But do we all have just one type of buyer? No, we all have pretty diverse individual sets of crazy that we have to deal with. We want a lender that can handle crazy. I want to, if you can handle crazy and deliver dreams, you can handle easy and deliver dreams.
Yep.
We're clear to close on a deal I sent Sam 10 days ago, if that. And the reason we're not closing today is because the seller is at Havasu partying on the lake, and title can't get him the document Monday.
They couldn't get a notary on a wakeboard. We're like, gosh dang it.
Yeah, we tried. We honestly
Paddle out there,
tried.
you know.
We called because like we had his camp number and everything. We just couldn't get a notary to go out there.
Yeah.
But if we had a notary, that's it. Like, that's what most people get hung up on, is the service side. Is I'm not going to speak for Sam, but I know that he believes in the line of bad news or good news is just news if it's delivered timely. So if it's not going to work, he knows it's not going to work 2 weeks before, not waiting until, you know, let's just get to a couple days before closing and then we'll drop the bomb.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing is, like, you know, you strip everything away, take the houses, the neighborhoods, the HOAs, the bedrooms, bathrooms, the mortgage, interest rate, all that stuff. You take everything away. What we are actually transacting in, what we're selling, is trust, right? That is the currency of our business. And if you can learn to develop that, retain that, that you'll do well. And I think that works on both sides, right? That works in lending and I mean, it works in any sort of like sales, I guess, but especially in this industry we're in, where we are uprooting someone's life and we're placing them somewhere else in hopes of a better future. You know, people, generally speaking, especially in this market, buy and sell houses because of the hope of something better to come, right? But they're still having to go through a massive amount of disruption to make that happen. So you have to be able to, you know, work with someone who carries that same sort of understanding and will commit to, you know, building that trust regardless of the scenario, right? And maintaining it. So yeah, good news or bad news, it's just news, just deliver it and build trust. Anyway, I'm off my soapbox. My feet are super clean now.
Super clean. Next thing we talked about yesterday was some VA assumable things.
Yeah.
So we talked about how a VA seller could sell their house and have a non-VA buyer assume it, but then the risks that go along with it.
Yeah. So every veteran, as long as when they've met their entitlement. So in order to get the entitlement for a VA loan, they have to either do 90 consecutive days active duty, 180 days consecutive of active duty training, or they have to be, I think it's 6 years. Don't quote me on the 6 years piece. The 2 I know for sure. But they will get this entitlement where they can buy a home at 100% financing, right? And that's the VA loan entitlement. That is, they're given a number. So that number is 36,000, and that 36,000 goes towards their basically upfront funding fee. So the VA has a funding fee. On the first time use is 2.15% of the loan amount. Any subsequent use is 3.3. Giving you a bunch of mortgage details here, but this will come into play later on. When a veteran goes to sell their house and they are offering an assumption to a buyer, that buyer does not need to be a veteran, but that buyer takes a part of their entitlement. So now the veteran, depending on what they have left and how much that loan amount is, they have a portion of that entitlement left. Now, can they still buy a house while they have a loan that's being paid off through an assumption? Yes, but it will significantly impact the amount that they can use for 100% financing. It doesn't stop them from buying a home. They can still buy a home and pay the difference just out of pocket. But in some cases, it can completely take them out of the market if they bought a really expensive first home and they're having that assumed. And in some cases, if they bought something tiny in, I don't know, Tennessee, and they're trying to buy something else over here in Arizona or Washington, they might still have enough entitlement left to purchase home. It just depends on loan amounts for that area. It depends on the original loan amount, depends on the amount left. But it does affect their ability to buy with 100% financing.
So what is the difference on the entitlement? Like you mentioned that as somebody who's buying in like, some small town in Indiana or Illinois where the houses are 30 to 40,000, and Arizona, the median price is 380 or 340. So is there a price point or the time that they've had it's the entitlement?
It's price point. It's a total loan amount, right? There used to be so we used to have loan limits for VA that were separate from like HUD and conventional. Now they just follow basically conventional loan limits. As long as the house is under those loan limits, it really, it's dependent on the area. So if they were to buy a first home in Tennessee for 40 grand, they're only going to use a very, very like a fractional percentage of that initial entitlement money, and they would have most of it freed up to go buy a home in Arizona. So in that case, they'd probably be rather unaffected. But if it was the inverse, if they bought a home in Arizona and then they were trying to go buy a house in Tennessee, well, that could still be possible because the house in Tennessee is only 40 grand. But like trying to buy two houses in downtown Tucson would be damn near impossible because they wouldn't have the remaining entitlement left. They could still do it. They would have to come up with the cash out of pocket.
How
I have
much
an
is the
example. I have an example, Sam. So and some of you guys know this. So my ex, he owns two homes here in Tucson, both with his VA entitlement, and has enough left that if he wanted to go get something else, because they're both rental properties now at this point, if he wanted to go buy something else for himself to live in, it would have to be $225,000 or less. Like a townhouse or something else that qualified for it if he didn't want to put any money down. But because of the amount of conforming loan limit here and what he used for these homes that were fairly modest, he still got room if he wanted to buy a third one.
Yep.
Doesn't the VA, don't they have to have that as their primary residence?
Correct. So there's there are obviously like lending is really, it's not as black and white as people say. There definitely are black and white aspects of lending, and then there's a whole bunch of gray areas. So when at the time of purchase, the veteran or anyone, if they're buying a primary residence, they have to buy it with the assumption that that will be their primary residence. However, if circumstances change, as long as they don't refinance that home or change the purpose of it, it's still a primary residence for all intents and purposes. Now, if they're like, hey, we've lived in this for 3 years, however, this area that's just up the street works so much better for us, we're going to buy this as our new primary residence. There's nothing stopping them from buying that new one as their primary residence and retaining the loan on this one as primary. Even though they're not both technically primary, it's just this one is owner occupied, this is non-owner occupied.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Sam, that used to be, because there was like a misconception that it had to be a primary residence for 2 years. And then when I dug into that, that's not actually a hard and fast rule set by the VA, but it is, like you said, based on intention and who's going to be who the lender is on that and what their comfortability is, or an underwriter.
Yep. Yeah. 100%. So we just did one. They were like 9 months, and it really, I mean, I kind of saw it happening. We talked through it basically. So they moved from Tennessee. We have a really big air base right by my house, and they moved over here from Tennessee. He had just got orders, and they were trying to find a house. They couldn't find housing because military housing is cram packed here. We found this house for sale. They purchased it. it ended up being like geographically. So Woodby Island in the San Juans is super long and skinny. There's like one main road that goes across the entire thing. And so they thought that, oh, like distance wise, that's not very far. But no, time wise with traffic, when everyone's on the same road, it's like you're taking a 20-minute commute to a 45-minute commute. So it just didn't make sense. They did it for 9 months. They found something closer to base, and we are purchasing that one now. Same thing. So as long as there's reasonable intention to occupy as a primary residence, there's really no hard, fast rule. However, there are like the servicer, so whoever's maintaining the loan and collecting the payments, if you are not making payments on it, or if you're posting it for rent the day after you close, things like that, there are red flags that will get you called out. But there is no they can only slap mortgage fraud on it if there is like nefarious intent from day one, right? If you are intending to buy this and commit occupancy fraud, it's something that is like a preconceived idea before you even went into the transaction. In that situation, I would have had to basically explain my thinking and logic on it, and I had like tons of emails and text messages showing that no, this was their primary residence. They're flying over here from Tennessee. They didn't know shit about the area, but this one made sense to them. I tried to explain to them that, hey, Highway 20 at 4:00 is going to be bottlenecked. Anyway, I can go on that. But yeah, your intention has to be to occupy as your primary residence. If things change, there's always extenuating circumstances.
How much is the VA entitlement, did you say? Or is it dependent on each service member?
Yeah, so the VA entitlement is 36,000, and that's a number that is used to cover your percentage or your portion of your funding fee. Why it's 36,000, why that number has never changed, I don't know, but it's 36,000.
But that's to elaborate, right? Sam, correct me if I'm wrong. So if you guys are thinking about how much entitlement, first of all, you're going to want to ask the lender or the service member to pull their certificate of eligibility.
Yep.
And it's going to give you, like he said, that's the base entitlement amount is 36,000. But they changed the rules a little while back that they can fund up to whatever the local conforming loan limits are. So you can just Google conforming loan limits by county and look and see what that is. Obviously, it's still going to factor in whatever their debt to income ratio and other general qualifications to see how much they can finance. But the hard and fast, and I have a really cool calculator. I don't know if it was you that shared it with me, Sam, but like an Excel calculator.
Yep.
It's essentially like, think of whatever price of the house, whatever it is, their entitlement's going to cover, they're going to use 25% of that.
Yep.
That's like the easiest low hanging fruit way to do it. So if they have like the conforming loan limits for Tucson, for Pima County right now is this year, what, 802,000, Sam?
Let me pull it up. I think so.
It went from high sevens to like just over 800,000. So if this service member, you bought a $400,000 house, they're using essentially $100,000 worth of entitlement on that house.
Yeah, and the other nuance to it, so every other loan is going to use like DTI is going to be like kind of a hard fast rule. Each loan type will have a debt to income limit. VA is less concerned about DTI and more concerned about residual income. So basically the amount of money you have left over after paying your expenses. So like things like utilities are factored into VA qualification. They really want to make sure that they're not unintentionally burdening someone with debt. But like, for instance, so to put sort of perspective, a normal loan, you're going to get capped at like 49% back end DTI. FHA, you could go up to like 55, 56 potentially. There was a VA refinance I did. It's called a EARL, interest rate reduction loan, where we went from a 92 to an 88 and I got it approved. So an 88% debt to income ratio, which is like, holy crap, who can survive off that? But I was saving the money. And so the VA was like, heck yeah, we're going to do this. So that's another thing that was interesting. The one factor I had to really focus on was making sure they had enough residual income left over at the end of their month to meet the qualification.
Well, and that you have to factor in, where it's helpful to factor in too, if they're going from one base to another. Yep. And their BAH is maybe going to change. So there may be factors that change for them based on their rank in terms of what their income level is based on the location that they may be going to versus where they were currently.
Yep. 100%.
Good conversations, guys. I love the conversation topics there.
Can we ask one more question on the VA assumable, Sam?
Yeah.
With the, because I know there's been some folks, and I think you recently maybe had a change on this, but for the assumable, that balance between the loan balance and the purchase price, they can get secondary financing on that now, which I looked into the other day, but isn't there a pretty strict, like they have to still put, what is it, like 10%
Yeah.
that difference down?
Yep. So in any assumable option, just like FHA has a minimum of 3.5% borrower contribution, on an assumable loan, there's a minimum 10% borrower contribution. They can get secondary financing for it, either through the servicer or an ancillary source, but that 10% is a hard fast rule. So it's I think it's to ensure. I mean, obviously, VA is going to cover veterans, right, as a way of returning the favor, if you will, for their service, but they're not just going to pass 100% financing on to anyone else. They want to see that you have some skin in the game and an ability to repay that debt. So yes, you can get ancillary financing, but you will still have to cover 10% of the outstanding balance.
And that's going to be at not what the assumable rate is. That's going to be at whatever market rate is for
Correct.
that particular thing, like as if it's a HELOC or something like that.
Yep. Yeah. And so that brings up a really good topic of conversation, and that is blended rate. That's probably a term that you guys have heard the last couple of years. So if you think about a HELOC rate right now, you're 9.9, maybe 10%. Some places maybe a little bit less than that if it's like with your bank you've banked at for years. So if you look at a VA loan, let's just take an example, and let's say that the home price is, someone give me a home price. 375. Okay, so they're selling the house for 375. The VA has an outstanding balance of, someone give me an outstanding balance.
280.
Oh, we gotta do better than that. Let's say they've been in there for a while and they're like, this is a sweet deal. So they bought it in 2020. Let's say 200.
200.
So there you go. Good answer, Dan. Okay. So the outstanding balance is 200. Let's say they did it during COVID and their interest rate on that is 2%, right? So 2% on that 200. Does anybody know what the difference is that they'd have to come up with? I know it's early. Can we do this?
175,000.
Oh my goodness. Someone ate their Wheaties. Okay. So they, out of that 175, they have to go up with 10% of that 175, and then they can borrow the rest, right? So what's 10% of 175?
17.5.
17.5. Nicely done.
Where are you guys at this morning, guys?
I know we need someone else to answer this. Okay. And then what is left? Let's someone else other than Dan. How much are they borrowing? What's the difference there? No, nobody.
157.5.
Oh my goodness, Dan, giving it too easy. Okay. So out of that 157.5, let's say they get a HELOC for that 157.5 at 10% interest, right? So if you do 157,500 at 10, they do 200 at 2. Was that 4 or 5.25? Oh, I just completely broke my mortgage calculator. What did I do here? So in that case, okay, so in this case, if this is right, that still makes sense, right? Because the going rate right now is like 6%. VA, you can probably dip below 6% on it. But still, in some of these cases where you're in my normal situation, my calculator would not be throwing me an error code for this blended rate here. But when you look at both of them, you have to look at both rates. So what's the balance you're borrowing at a higher interest rate and the balance you're carrying at a lower interest rate, and the average of those two rates, right? If it's over what the going rate is for just a normal loan, sometimes it doesn't make sense to go through the 9-10 months of headache to do an assumable loan. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think
Yes,
it will.
no,
When
maybe.
we talk about it more about it. I think this finance stuff is a lot more exposure over time. So
That's
guys,
like mortgage 103, I think.
yeah, it's being able to have creative financing is what we're going to work on. Let's just keep in. You guys committed to next Friday so we can talk Sam again?
Yes.
I definitely need it.
All right.
All right. Next Friday, bring me a scenario like a buyer you're working with, something wonky, they can't get approved, a weird house you're trying to sell. And let's see if we can solve it on the call next Friday.
Sound good?
Sound good?
All right, guys. Thank you, Sam.